My dad finally shut down my entitled stepmom. My stepmom's jealousy was always a problem, but she really took it to the next level at my graduation party, trying to make the entire day about her. The drama got so bad the whole family was on edge. But what she didn't see coming was that my dad had finally had enough. In one single moment, he shut her down and left everyone, especially her, completely stunned. Here's how it all went down. A graduation is supposed to be a day of pure celebration, right? It's a milestone you cross after years of hard work and sleepless nights. For me, graduating from college felt like I'd finally reached the summit of a mountain I'd spent 4 years climbing. I was proud, I was relieved, and I was so ready to celebrate with the people I loved. But I also had this pit of dread in my stomach, a cold, heavy knot that had a name: Karen, my stepmom. My graduation day, the one day that was supposed to be mine, was about to become a battlefield. And the first shots were about to be fired. To really get why things exploded at my party, you have to understand the years of kindling that came before it. My dad is a genuinely good guy. He's kind, supportive, and has always been my #1 fan. But after my parents divorced and he married Karen about 10 years ago, a new side of him came out, a conflict-avoidant, do-anything-for-peace side. He loved Karen, and to keep things smooth, he learned to smooth over her difficult edges. And believe me, Karen had a lot of them. She wasn't just a stepmom, she was like a character straight out of an entitled people story. Her jealousy, especially towards me, was a constant, simmering thing in our house. I was the living, breathing reminder of my dad's life before her, and she seemed to hate every part of it. It wasn't obvious, not at first. It was more like a series of 1,000 tiny cuts. When I won a state art award in high school, she spent the whole ride home complaining about how uncomfortable the auditorium seats were. When my dad bought me my first car, a used sedan I'd helped pay for with my own savings, she pouted for a week because he hadn't bought her new jewelry in a few months. Her specialty was this unique brand of passive-aggressive narcissism. She'd offer help that was really sabotage, and give compliments that were actually insults. For my 16th birthday, she insisted on baking the cake. It came out dry and crumbly, and she spent the party telling everyone how I must have given her the wrong recipe, making me look ungrateful while she played the martyr. My dad's response was always the same. He'd pull me aside and whisper, "Just let it go, sweetie. You know how she gets. It's not worth the fight." So for years, that's what I did. I swallowed my frustration. I smiled through the insults. I let her take credit for my wins and blow my smallest mistakes out of proportion. I did it for my dad, because I could see how badly he just wanted a peaceful home. But letting her get away with it came at a cost. It taught her there were no consequences for her actions. It taught her that she could push, and no one would ever push back. She saw my dad's desire to avoid conflict not as kindness, but as a weakness she could exploit. And she saw my silence as an invitation to get louder. As my college graduation got closer, I knew I was bracing for a Category 5 hurricane of entitlement, and I had a sinking feeling that this time, just letting it go wasn't going to cut it. The day started with the ceremony itself. It was long, hot, and absolutely perfect. Sitting there in my cap and gown, I just felt this huge sense of accomplishment. My dad was there, beaming. My mom, who has a great civil relationship with my dad, was on my other side, tearing up. And then there was Karen. Her first move was predictable. As I walked back to my seat, diploma in hand, she leaned over to my dad and said, just loud enough for me to hear, "Well, thank goodness that's over." I thought I was going to melt in this ridiculous gown. It wasn't her gown, it was mine. A tiny jab, designed to pop the balloon of my happiness. I ignored it. Today was my day. The real trouble started at the party. We decided to have it at my dad and Karen's house. In hindsight, a catastrophic mistake. I wanted a relaxed backyard barbecue where friends and family could just hang out. But by having it there, I'd given her home field advantage. This wasn't just a party venue, it was her kingdom. Guests started showing up around 4 p.m. My grandparents, aunts, uncles, my mom and her husband, and a bunch of my college friends. The vibe was light and happy. But as soon as the first car pulled in, Karen went into what I can only call hostess on steroids mode. I wanted to greet my own guests, but she beat me to the door every single time. And she wasn't just welcoming them, she was claiming the entire event as her own. The first thing I noticed was her outfit. I was in a simple sundress. Karen, however, was wearing a sequined, floor-length gown that belonged at a New Year's Eve gala. It was so over the top it was almost funny, a glittering beacon screaming, "Look at me." As my aunt and uncle walked in, I heard her say, "Welcome. I'm so glad you could make it. I've been planning this for months, and I'm just so thrilled with how it's all turned out." I just stood there, stunned. My dad and I had done 90% of the work. We'd ordered the food, decorated the yard, sent the invites. Karen's main contribution was complaining about the price of the rental chairs. I tried to laugh it off. My friends were giving me confused looks, and I just shrugged, trying to mentally send them the message, "Just ignore her, you know how she is." The same thing my dad had told me a million times. But her performance was just getting started. She floated around the party, champagne glass in hand, talking loudly about my daughter's graduation. She'd never, not once, called me her daughter before. Today, she was trying on the role of proud mom, and it fit her about as well as that sequin dress. A sense of dread started to creep in. This wasn't my party anymore. It was quickly becoming the Karen show. The party was going okay for about an hour before the first major incident. My mom, my actual mom, came up to me, her eyes shining. "Sweetheart," she said, "can I get a picture with my graduate?" Of course. We stood under the big oak tree in the backyard, my arm around her, both of us grinning. As my uncle went to take the picture, a shadow fell over us. It was Karen. "Oh, are we doing photos? We absolutely must get a proper family photo," she announced, wedging herself between me and my mom. My mom, always graceful, took a step back to make room. But that wasn't enough. No, Karen said, physically pulling my dad over to stand beside her. "Let's have the real parents in the middle." Then she waved for my mom to move to the very end of the line. The implication was disgusting and clear. In her mind, my mom was now a distant relative, a footnote in the real family she was creating for the camera. The air got thick. My uncle lowered his phone, not sure what to do. My dad stared at the ground. My mom, bless her, just gave a tight smile and said, "You know what, you all go ahead. I'll take the picture." She backed away, and the day suddenly felt cold. I stood there, trapped between my dad and stepmom, a fake smile plastered on my face while my insides twisted into a knot. Karen beamed, victorious. That was incident number 1. About 30 minutes later, it was time for round 2. Without warning, Karen started clinking a fork against a wine glass, demanding everyone's attention. The chatter died down. I had a horrible feeling I knew what was coming. "If I could have everyone's attention," she began, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. "I just want to say a few words. As I look at my beautiful daughter today," she said, gesturing to me, "I am just overwhelmed with a sense of accomplishment." My heart sank. Her accomplishment. It hasn't been easy. Raising a teenager is a challenge that takes incredible sacrifice. There were so many times I had to put my own needs aside, so many times I had to provide guidance. When I look at that diploma, I don't just see a piece of paper. I see all the hard work I put in. So, let's raise a glass, not just to the graduate, but to the village that it took to get her here. A village of which I am proud to be the mayor. The silence after her speech was heavy. A few people clapped politely. My friends were staring at me, their jaws on the floor. My grandparents looked horrified. She had taken my moment and twisted it into a monument to herself. I was so humiliated I could barely breathe. My dad just stood there, staring at his shoes, completely paralyzed. Next up, gifts. My friends had pooled their money for a beautiful leather portfolio for job interviews. My aunts and uncles gave me gift cards. Then, my grandparents on my mom's side handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for a truly generous amount, enough to cover my first few months of rent. I was speechless, my eyes filling with tears of gratitude. As I was hugging my grandma, thanking her, Karen's sharp voice cut through the air. "Well, "That's a very nice gesture," she said loudly, making sure everyone heard. "I certainly hope you'll be responsible with that. Maybe use some of it to pay your father back for all the money he's poured into your tuition." The party came to a dead stop. You could have heard a pin drop. The comment was so cruel, so stunningly inappropriate, that nobody knew how to react. It belittled my grandparents' gift, painted me as a financial burden, and slapped my dad in the face, all at once. I saw my dad's face darken, a real flash of anger for the first time all day. But just as quickly it was gone. I couldn't take it anymore. The final straw came minutes later. My favorite uncle, who works in marketing, was asking about my job search. I have a degree in graphic design, and I started telling him excitedly about an interview I had lined up. I was mid-sentence when Karen swooped in. "Oh, that's sweet," she said with a dismissive wave. "But all that artsy stuff is more of a hobby, isn't it? A real job has a 401k. I've been telling her father for months that she needs a business certificate or something practical. This whole follow your passion thing is charming, but it doesn't pay the bills." That was it. In front of my entire family, she had dismissed my degree, my passion, and my future as a frivolous hobby. It was a complete invalidation of everything I had worked for. I felt the hot sting of tears and absolutely refused to let her see me cry. I mumbled something about checking on the food and fled to the kitchen, my heart pounding. The party was ruined. My day was ruined. She had won. I leaned against the kitchen counter, taking shaky breaths. The happy sounds from the party felt a million miles away. A moment later, the door swung open and my dad walked in, his face etched with concern. He saw the tears I was trying so hard to hide. He started with his old, tired script. "Honey, don't let her get to you," he said softly. "You know how she is. Just ignore it. It's your day." But this time, something inside me just snapped. All the years of biting my tongue, of swallowing my anger for his sake, it all came boiling up. "No," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "No, Dad. I'm not ignoring it. Not anymore." I turned to face him, the tears now flowing freely. "It's not my day." She made sure of that. "She has done nothing but undermine me, insult my mother, belittle my grandparents, and dismiss my entire future in front of everyone. At my own graduation party, Dad. And you just stand there. You always let her do it." He looked hurt. "That's not fair. Isn't it?" I shot back. "When is it going to be enough? When will you ever stand up for me?" Our argument was cut short when the kitchen door swung open with a dramatic flourish. It was Karen. She wasn't there to check on me. She was there to complain. Her hands were on her hips, her face a mask of outrage. "What is going on in here? The guests are asking where the graduate is, and the cake needs to be cut. And you," she said, pointing a finger at my chest, "need to stop being so incredibly selfish and dramatic. This party reflects on our whole family, and you're making us look bad sulking in here like a child." Selfish. She called me selfish. After spending the entire day making my celebration about her, she had the nerve to call me selfish. It was the most incredible act of projection I'd ever seen. I was about to scream, about to say things that would burn the whole house down. But before I could even take a breath, a calm, quiet voice cut through the tension. It was my dad. He had stepped forward, positioning himself slightly in front of me, like a shield. His face was unervingly calm, but his voice when he spoke was ice. He didn't look at me. His eyes were locked on Karen. "Karen," he began, his tone low and even. "You're right. This party is a reflection on this family." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "And your behavior tonight has been a complete and utter embarrassment." Karen's smug look vanished, replaced by confusion. This was not part of her plan. My dad continued, his voice never rising, but every word landed like a hammer. "This is not your day. This is not about you. This is about my daughter. My daughter, who worked her butt off for 4 years. My daughter, who I am so incredibly proud of. And you have spent the last 3 hours trying to tear her down." He took another step closer. "You insulted her. You insulted her mother. You insulted my parents. And with that comment about tuition, you insulted me. You have tried to steal her moment, this one single day, at every possible turn, all because of your pathetic consuming jealousy. The kitchen was dead silent. The party noise outside seemed to have disappeared. Karen's face flashed through shock, disbelief, and then pure rage. She opened her mouth to fight back, but my dad gave her no room. He delivered the final blow. The party is for my daughter, he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, which was somehow more terrifying than a shout. You, however, are no longer welcome at it. Get your purse, call a cab, and leave my house. Now. Stunned. That's the only word. Karen looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She sputtered, looking from my dad's stone-cold face to me, her eyes filled with pure hatred. She held his gaze, searching for a crack in his resolve, but there was none. The king had finally checked the queen. Defeated, she spun on her heel, her sequined dress catching the light. She snatched her purse from the counter and stormed out the back door, slamming it so hard the windows rattled. And then, silence. The tension in the room just broke. My dad let out a long, heavy breath and his shoulders slumped, like he'd been carrying a massive weight for years and had finally put it down. He turned to me, his eyes filled with regret. I am so sorry, sweetheart, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I am so sorry. I should have done that years ago. I just collapsed into his arms, sobbing. But this time, they were tears of relief. We walked back out to the party a few minutes later. The vibe was different, lighter. A few guests gave us questioning looks, but nobody asked. I think they all heard, and I think they were all relieved. My aunt caught my eye and gave me a small, supportive wink. My mom came over and gave me a long hug, whispering, I'm proud of you. And I'm proud of your dad today. The rest of the party was everything it should have been from the start. A real celebration. We cut the cake, I opened my gifts, and I spent the rest of the night laughing with my friends and family. For the first time in a decade, there was no toxic cloud hanging over us, no drama to navigate. It was just pure joy. It was the graduation gift I never expected, but the one I needed most, my dad finally choosing me. In the weeks that followed, the family dynamic shifted for good. Karen and my dad are, believe it or not, still together. But something is fundamentally different. The power balance has been reset. My dad found his spine that day, and he hasn't lost it. He sets firm boundaries with her now, especially about me. Her days of walking all over me are over. The peace in their house is no longer bought at my expense. That day, my dad didn't just shut her down, he liberated both of us. He showed me he was still the dad who would fight for me, and he gave himself permission to stop managing her toxic behavior and start demanding better. So, what do you guys think? Was my dad's reaction justified, or was kicking her out of her own home too harsh? What would you have done? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like stories like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for listening.